All right, everyone. Well, as people are trickling in, I'm going to get us started because I always like to start on time. So, thank you for being here and welcome to our Get Legit webinar series on getting OCal certified with CCOF. My name is Diana Gamzon, and I'm the Executive Director of the Nevada County Cannabis Alliance. I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. It is our hope that anyone who's interested in commercial cannabis will take the time to tune into these free webinars that we have, educate themselves, and continue to be or become stewards of the environment and of our licensed cannabis community. This Get Legit educational series provides the preparation necessary to assist in securing a cultivation permit, a state license, and this series includes the overall Get Legit series includes webinars on business management, best practices for environmental stewardship, and regulatory support. We also have a mentor program to assist those that are entering the licensed cannabis industry. All webinars are online, they're free of charge, and they are open to the public. You can find all of our Get Legit webinars and the links to register at nccannabisalliance.org backspace Get Legit. What is the Cannabis Alliance? We are a nonprofit trade association representing the local cannabis industry here in Nevada County. Our mission is to support public policy initiatives through representative advocacy and provide educational opportunities for business growth and success that promote environmental stewardship. There are many ways to get involved. You can become a member of the Nevada County Cannabis Alliance. Your membership plays a vital role in shaping policies that strengthen economic sustainability and success of our local licensed cannabis industry. We provide a consistent voice and representation locally and statewide, and year-round continuing education programs like this one. And we are always here to provide one-on-one support to help you navigate the compliance process through state licensing and permitting. We also have a buddy program to pair permitted farmers with new farmers who want to learn about the licensing process. And we also have seasonal industry mixers for meeting with other farmers and for connection. You can also become a sponsor of the Cannabis Alliance. And I want to provide a shout out to our allied industry sponsors. We would like to thank CCOF for being a sponsor of the Cannabis Alliance, Ag Natural, Cranmer Engineering, Plan Air Landscape and Architecture, Humboldt Seed Company, Mr. B's Green Trees, Gold Coast Botanicals, and Elevation 24/7. You can follow us on Facebook at Facebook Nevada County Alliance or Instagram at Nevada County Alliance. You can subscribe to our bi-monthly newsletter for updates and all sorts of stuff happening at a local and state level. It's at our website, nccannabisalliance.org space subscribe. And any questions can come to info@nccannabisalliance.org. And we are really excited about an upcoming webinar that we have, which will be June 4th. Rescheduling, it's a rescheduling conversation. What's happened at a federal level, how will that impact us here in our community of small cannabis farmers? It will be with attorney Bill Panzer. He is a board member with Cal Normal, and really diving into how this new federal landscape is going to look like here at a very local level. All right, so the format of today's webinar, I'll have Kim and Marli from CCOF will be introducing themselves. There'll be a presentation with Q&A to follow. Your participation is greatly encouraged, and there's a chat section and Q&A for you to use. Feel free to ask any questions you may have and put it in the chat or the Q&A. And this webinar is being recorded and will be available on our website at nccannabisalliance.org /Get Legit. I will pass it to Kim and Marli. Thank you so much for being here to join us.
Awesome. Thanks, Diana. Hi, everybody. Thanks for your time and attention today, or if you're watching at a later date. Really excited to be here and excited to speak to you all about the organic version of certification for cannabis, which is called OCal. I will start sharing my slides as I speak. What we'll be covering today is an overview of the organic world. So the foundation of USDA NOP organic certification, and then how that connects to cannabis and OCal certification. And then finally, we will wrap up with an overview of how the OCal process works. So process, timeline, fees, things like that if you're interested in getting started. So let me just move this out of my way and we'll be ready to do it. Perfect. Alrighty, so quick intro for Marli and myself. My name is Kim Hatfield. I am the Assistant Director of Member Acquisitions here at CCOF, which is a very fancy title for I help folks apply. I'm joined by Marli, who is also on our applicant support team. Marli, would you like to unmute and say a quick hello?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here.
Perfect. I'll do a lot of the talking through the slides, and then Marli and I will both work through the Q&A session. Any questions you have, feel welcome to drop those in the chat at any time, and we'll loop back to them at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, let's talk basics. So we're here on behalf of CCOF. That acronym stands for California Certified Organic Farmers, but we work throughout the US, a little bit of Canada and Mexico. So we usually just go by our acronym. We got together in 1973. A group of farmers sat down at a kitchen table and discussed how to certify each other organic. And we've grown up a bit since then. We now, like I said, work throughout the US and 2 other countries. We've got members in all parts of the US, and we're approaching around 5,000 clients in total for the organic side of things. So with that, we are very focused on organic, and through these slides, you'll see how OCal ties into that. It's perfectly aligned with our mission. And this photo is the last time we all got together, which was super fun. So like I said, we'll start with the foundation of organic and how that ties into the cannabis world. So organic, you probably recognize these lovely logos, the USDA logo, either the green or the black and white version. Those show up in agricultural products all over the place. And when you see that logo, you can rest assured that it has gone through a certification process from one of the accredited agencies like CCOF. It usually shows up in conjunction with the logo of the certifier who did the process. And every time that product is touched, packaged, or labeled, it needs to be under the purview of a certification agency. So to explain the players on the field for organic, we've got the branch of the USDA that maintains the standards, the National Organic Program. In this world, we love acronyms, so it's usually called the NOP. They are the folks that accredit parties like CCOF and other organic certifiers, and then certifiers oversee their direct clients, the operations doing the actual production and manipulation of those organic products. The standards are the real deal. They prohibit things like GMOs and toxic chemicals. They require that operations maintain natural resources, soil, water, woodlands, wildlife, all those components of the farm. They have prevention and mitigation measures to make sure that organic foods are not contaminated. And they really focus on record keeping to demonstrate compliance. Usually all of that effort on the side of the producer comes through in a higher cost and higher return on their products because of those standards and how they're being met. Lots of folks are making sure that this is all working the way it should. So certification agencies use inspection and review tactics to oversee the folks that are in our care. State and federal government agencies also take a look at things, monitor for fraud, monitor for contamination. And if there is unfortunate, either intentional or unintentional bad action, there can be consequences for those things, depending on the situation. Things like fines or suspension of organic certification can come into play when someone's done something they really shouldn't have. So all of this is to say, and probably most folks are familiar, but if you see that organic logo, it really means something, and the compliance has been verified. That certification process and the resulting product has all sorts of positive spin-off side effects, um, social, benefits like the protection of the farm workers that are touching those products, nutritious foods, food chain supply, making sure that we have great local foods to be accessed, economic returns for the producers themselves, and then probably what most folks are most familiar with, the environmental benefits associated with organic production. If you'd like to read in detail about any of these things, this benefit report shown here on the screen is available for free on our website. So if you want to dig into any of those topics, we welcome you to. So just to put a ribbon on all this, when you buy organic, you are supporting uh, businesses that have strong ethics and are investing in these practices. You are sourcing product with reduced risk of any exposure to chemicals or negative side effects, benefits from the nutrient density in the food, and protecting the environment. So I breezed through that very quickly because I really wanted to get to this part and how cannabis fits into all of this. So cannabis is built on that organic OCal certification, cannabis certification, is built on that organic foundation. Because the word organic is a federally regulated term, it cannot be applied to cannabis products at this time. But California taxpayers, they saw an opportunity to bridge that divide, and they voted for the OCal program to come into existence and kind of start that journey for cannabis producers. So OCal is a comparable certification process to the USDA NOP process we just discussed. It is housed under the CDFA and the CDPH, so those two bodies, depending on the type of producers, they maintain the regulations and they make sure that those regulations are in line with the organic standards, and then they accredit third parties like CCOF to enforce them. There are minor variances between the two programs just to address more cannabis-focused terminology, but by and large, they are very, very similar, basically the same. The OCal label is intended to communicate to consumers the same foundation that the USDA organic logo currently communicates. It's a really big deal and it's very exciting. Like I said, it's the first of its kind. It is for licensed cannabis producers in California. And this is the first and only opportunity that sets up cannabis producers to someday roll cleanly into the federally legal use of the term organic. And cannabis consumers in California also are benefiting because of all this. So again, similarly, the players on the field, CDFA, CDPH, OCal certifiers like CCOF, and then licensed cannabis producers. These are the two logos, similar to the USDA and CCOF logos we saw prior. These are the two logos that certified producers can apply to their product. The orange and green version is the one that is distributed by the overseeing regulatory body, CDFA, CDPH. And then the CCOF logo is our version, our fun twist on our classic sunflower that folks can tap into and use on their products. So to dig in a little bit more deeply and what this really means for a certified producer, on the farm side of things, traditional, conventional cannabis farms have access to a whole world of pesticides, fertilizers, and inputs that they could use. OCal producers, on the other hand, are not, the synthetic pesticides are not available to OCal producers. So this protects the folks involved, and it also protects the natural resources, the biodiversity, has a higher carbon sequestration depending on how the farm is managed, protects pollinators, all of those side effects that are built into what it is you're using on your farm and how you are doing it. On the manufacturer side of things, classic conventional cannabis products can use a whole assortment of ingredients, including conventional cannabis, GMOs, artificial flavors, fillers, and preservatives, while OCal manufacturers can only use 100% OCal cannabis, certified organic added ingredients, and the entire system of how they produce those products is reported in their organic system plan to their certifier. And we'll talk about that in more detail in just a few slides. You might be thinking, doesn't a lot of testing already exist for cannabis? And that is very true. California cannabis is currently tested for 66 pesticides and residues, while OCal cannabis is tested for an additional 122 pesticides. So much more detailed and a higher level of transparency to the consumer about what is in their product. So to wrap up this introduction and the foundation of OCal, introduction of OCal, if you see this logo in a cannabis retail setting, it means the same thing as the USD organic logo. It means that at every step in the production process, from the plant in the ground to simple package or distribution or multi-ingredient process products, there has been a certification agency involved overseeing those things. Okay, we're going to switch gears. Now that you all understand kind of the basic players and how it connects to organic, now we're going to talk about the good stuff, the nitty-gritty. How do you get certified OCal if you're interested? So before I get into any of these details, I want to reassure you that Marli, myself, our colleague Vanessa, our only roles at CCOF are dedicated to supporting new producers go online. So everything we talk about today, we could schedule a one-on-one session and talk you through it. If there's any detailed questions, the remainder of the webinar meetings in this series are dedicated to working on the application itself. So we'll talk about the generals here. We will show you how to access the application packet. And then as you dive into those forms, we are so happy to help every step of the way. So OCal certification takes about 4 months to achieve. The basic components along that 4 months include submitting a completed application packet. That application packet is a series of questions that helps develop what we call your OCal systems plan. Again, we're obsessed with acronyms, so we often call it the OSP. That plan really details all of the things that happen on your operation in terms of, do these activities then meet the regulations? And that's the process we'll start when that application is submitted and we enter into the initial review process. So a certification specialist will go through all of those pages and make sure that they have a mental understanding of what's occurring on your operation and if that plan meets the standards. They'll probably have some big questions for you, a little bit of back and forth to get things totally situated and understood. And once those questions are settled, that's when we send out the inspector. The inspector is really there to confirm what's been submitted on paper. So there shouldn't be any surprise, new, random questions we have for you because we already really understand your operation based on what was written down. The inspector also hones in on your record-keeping systems. So the first inspection is often looking at those record-keeping systems and making sure that when we come back a year from now, you've tracked the elements that we need to see to really verify that your plan is meeting the standards. So those are the two primary objectives of the first inspection. The inspector submits a report back to CCOF. The same certification specialist will go through that information and reach out if there's any stray questions or things that aren't totally clear. And then we will issue the certification decision at the end of that. If all goes well, that looks like a beautiful certificate in your company name that says you are certified OCal, and there will be an addendum that lists all of the products that you are certified OCal to produce. That entire 4-month process, at no point is that pass-fail. So if some piece of your OSP doesn't perfectly align with the standards, we'll simply ask for adjustment or more information. There is no point in which we would kick you out of the process and ask you to start again. It's all back and forth, work in progress. Along the way, there are 3 core fees that all producers experience. There's a new application fee of $350 that comes in when you start the process and you're submitting your completed application packet. There is that inspection fee, and that's based on time and travel. We'd be happy to give custom quotes if folks reach out and you're curious how much you think you might pay. And then annual fees, and that is based on what we call OCal production value, OPV. Really, that is looking forward for the next 12 months. What is the value of the OCal products you think you will produce? And from that, you can deduct the cost of any certified OCal seeds or starts. Those are pretty difficult to source right now, so there might not be any deductions. If you are a manufacturer making a multi-ingredient product, you could also deduct the cost of any certified organic or OCal ingredients you purchase. So we also are more than happy to look at those and help you calculate, based on your particular activities and estimates. We would be happy to help you custom quote that annual fee as well. Next up, I wanted to talk a little bit more about what to expect when you're submitting and creating that organic system, the OCal system plan. So the application packet for cultivators will primarily start by looking at your land history. So similar to organic, OCal practitioners need to have 3 years of clean land history. So 3 years without any prohibited materials being applied to your land. That includes container growers if they're operating on permeable flooring. So anything but concrete, we're looking for 3 years land history. And that's really the only thing that can significantly slow down your application. If those 3 years have yet to pass, we will need to wait for them to fully pass before we can issue an OCal certificate. Most folks apply around 4 to 6 months before their first eligible OCal harvest, just to put that in perspective of the total timeline. We will also, like I've mentioned several times, take a look at your natural resources and biodiversity interactions. We will heavily review all of the inputs used on your operation. As you're gearing up for that and wondering what is or is not allowed, there is a great website called the OMRI website, and that is an excellent free search engine that can help give you insight to inputs and what is and is not allowed. And then we'll also focus on your, like I said, your record keeping systems, all the way from planting to the final sale of OCal products. So that's the cultivator world. If you move over into the handling side of the processing of that cannabis, we will take a look at where you source your products from. So what certified OCal farm are you pulling product from? The handling practices around that cannabis while it's in your care. So taking a look at things, what are your dedicated OCal storage areas, or maybe a dedicated OCal storage shelf? What type of labeling do you use to keep the OCal and the conventional cannabis you handle separate? The record keeping steps around all of those things. So showing how much product you source on paper, how much product you sell at the end of the time you're done handling it, and then cleaners and sanitizers used on contact surfaces along the way. For manufacturers, so distributors, that's kind of the world of simple handling. You're probably not creating a multi-ingredient product. Once you move into that multi-ingredient product world, you're considered a manufacturer. And those are all the same elements as a distributor, but we also would look at, of course, the composition of your product. So we would ask for a formulation and understand where you're sourcing any additional ingredients you purchase. The overall objective, like I said, is to compare all of this information to the OCal standards and make sure that you're upholding them as intended. So, coming to the end of my little spiel, moving towards the Q&A. If this interests you and you'd like to check out the type of questions that we would ask of a certified OCal producer you are most welcome to boogie on over to our website. We have a dedicated OCal page. You can find it under our certification service dropdown. And as you're scrolling down that page, reading a summary of all the good things we've talked about here today, you'll see this Let's Get Started button, and that will allow you to download the application itself. This is no strings attached. You're not starting the certification process or agreeing to anything. You can just review the questions and take a look at the application packet. We will provide access to a PDF copy that is great if you want to print it and complete it by hand. And we'll also provide access to fillable Word docs that are great to save to your desktop, complete, and then email back to us. We also are most happy to email those to you if you'd like to just get in touch with Marli and I directly. We both can be reached at getcertified@ccof.org. We can drop them in the chat here today. We can also, we've given them to the meeting organizers and all of that good stuff. So any avenue, we're really happy to just give you a copy so you can explore. And like I said, Marli and I and our colleague Vanessa, we're here for you at any point in the process. So you can email us using that same address or give us a call and use extension 1 off of our main phone tree. That is my last slide. So it's a brief introduction to OCal, how it fits into the organic landscape. And like I said, the remainder of these meetings would be dedicated to someone who is filling out that application packet and really curious about how their operation fits into the OCal standards. Any question along the way, any additional questions on process or fees, anything like that, we're here for you. So I'll stop sharing my screen and take a look at the chats.
Thank you so much, Kim, for that really comprehensive overview. And I'll just say that I'm so supportive of your program. It really opens up so many more markets and options for farmers. I know this from experience myself. And I do want to mention that just because a farm is OCal certified, it doesn't mean that you have to only sell to OCal. It just opens up a brand new array of opportunities, and that's really what it did in my experience. And so it just is broadening what we have, and especially the federal landscape that we're kind of all trying to navigate. I really am appreciative of how you expressed how it can fit well within the National Organics Program. So I want to see what questions people may have. I am seeing that there's questions in the chat. And it's, if you get your whole 10,000 square foot farm certified, but you don't anticipate selling your full crop as OCal flower, just because not all distributors are interested in that, does that differentiation come into the fee structure?
Yeah, that actually raises some great points. First, I want to say you do not have to transition your entire operation to OCal. I should have mentioned that in the slides. You can do split production. You can have some areas dedicated to OCal, some areas dedicated to conventional. If you want to go all OCal, we would ask you to report the total value of the OCal produced products. And typically our fees are based on that value of the product, not the value sold. But we have avenues to petition for a fee reduction because you did not sell all of those crops as OCal. So when it comes time at the end of the year to evaluate your fees and figure out the right fee moving forward, you could just have a conversation with us and say, this was the value of the OCal product I produced, but here was the actual sale of that. And then we'll take that into account when creating your next fee for the next year of service. Yeah, that's a great question.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions, anything that people may have? I'll ask a question. The GAMCP, am I saying that correctly? I'm just opening up where is it? This question is in my notes here. GACP or for organics or standards at a federal level. Can you speak? Do you know what I'm talking about? GMP for cannabis.
This might be more on the food safety side of things.
Yeah, it might be for manufactured food. GMP may only be necessary for manufacturing. Okay. Forget what I'm saying. But um, do we have any sort of, has there been conversations about the National Organics Program and how it relates to this rescheduling and considerations that there may be at a federal level with it, with how that may impact OCal?
I'm sure there have been conversations, not ones that I have been a part of or could speak to with any great detail. Um, Caitlin Slay, who we might do a guest appearance on one of these, she is our OCal manager for this program, so she would be the one conversing with the state agencies and seeing what they're thinking. From the inception of this program, though, that has been the intention that when, the word OCal becomes, or when the word organic becomes accessible to cannabis producers, there would be a streamline rollover for this program directly into that program. Yeah.
It's very helpful. And I just want to express to everybody that, and just reiterate what Kim had mentioned, that this program, this series really is meant to help get things going so that people can get their certification ideally by harvest. And that's going to require some work on your end to those people that are interested. But CCOF is really wonderful. There will be there to support either one-on-one or through these webinar series. But the takeaway is that would really recommend until our next we will all be meeting next Thursday at 1 o'clock. And by that time to have downloaded, opened up the application, gotten some questions together so that we can go through those together. And this is really meant to be a supportive process. So do you want to add anything to that, Kim or Marley?
Yeah, that was perfect. I mean, like I mentioned, it's usually about a 4-month turnaround to get you fully certified. So if we took all of May to work through the application packet, create a really strong OCal systems plan for everybody, if you were submitting early June, you would be perfectly on track to get certified by, say, an October harvest. So, yeah, the timing is perfect. And Marley and I are so happy to, within the webinar or outside of the webinar, support folks along the way. So yeah, thanks for that.
Great, thanks so much. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, wait, here we go. Here's a question.
Awesome.
Our farm is in Trinity County, and the inspection fee could get really high for how long of a drive this is from Santa Cruz. Are there any other farms in this area that are certified or options for cost sharing that cost between farms in the region, but stay in our needed timeline for getting the 4-month turnaround? That's a great question.
Wonderful question. Yes. So I'll reassure everybody that we would not necessarily be driving from Santa Cruz to meet you all. We've got inspectors all over the state of California, all over the US. So we'd find the one closest to you. And then if we have a bundle of applications from this group all in the same region, we would strive to make one visit to see everybody on that 4-month timeline. So obviously that kind of depends on everybody's application moving on the same speed and timeline. But if we can manage it, we will absolutely strive for that. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure the closest currently certified OCal clients we have, but if you want to shoot us an email with your address, we can do that type of research, take a look at your area, see the closest inspector, and if we have currently certified OCal clients, give you a ballpark of what they paid last year so you can have that kind of number going into it. Totally.
And Marlene, Kim, could you put your emails in the chat, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions that may come up? We can stay on a moment longer if anybody has anything. Oh, get certified. Perfect. All right. So get certified at ccof.org reaches both Marley and Kim. Uh, all righty. Anything else anybody has? All right.
This
Well,
was super fun. Thank you so much for inviting us and all the good work you do. And thanks to everybody for your interest in joining today.
Perfect. Well, thank you for being here, and thanks everybody for being here. And please reach out to CCOF with questions, and we will be in touch with all the participants from today to remind you about next Thursday and get some more folks also. So we've got a nice, robust group, and we do this together. Let's get certified. All right. Thank you, CCOF team, Marli and Kim. Thanks to everybody who attended.